Welcome, plant friends. Today I thought we'd slow down and talk about growing Ariocarpus from seed. They're some of my favorite plants. If you've followed this channel, you know that two of my favorite plants are the Ariocarpus from my mom and the Ariocarpus from my wife. Of course, since I like them so much, over the years I've tried to start them from seed, but they're a bit of a challenge. I've commiserated more than once with Jenny from Cookie's Cacti about how we have some issues growing Ariocarpus from seed. They're also painfully slow to experiment with, so this video is taking quite some time to make. But I wanted to document some of my experiments so they might help some of you who fall into some of the same traps that I have. So January 26th of 2025, I sowed 2 pots of Ariocarpus retusus seeds from Mesa Garden. They're collection number SB68, and they grew well, and 4 months in I opened their bags and started to take them out. So far these pots avoided any issues, but now comes the part that I struggle with, which is how to keep them happy once they've come out of the humidity. And they're seedlings, so they still need extra moisture, but Ariocarpus also appreciate a pretty non-retentive mix. After some time passed, I noticed the seedlings were all turning a dark red and a purple color. It's something common that I've had happen before. They're really sensitive to lights, and bags with the condensation probably gave them a little bit of shade before. Plus, now they're in a lot drier conditions. In the past, I made the mistake of continuing to give them too much light at this stage, so this time I figured I should give them some extra shade. I decided to leave one pot as it is, and the other pot I decided to repot all the seedlings into a pretty deep trough with a more adult Ariocarpus type of mix. At this point I decided to give them more shade, so I used some spare window screen to make little shades. On the trough I only shaded half as an experiment. After a couple months I didn't notice enough change, so I added a second and a third layer of scrap window screen. I've also moved the trough pot around a lot since I've recently adopted 2 sibling kittens. Anyhow, let's take a look to see how they've fared since 7 months ago and see if our little shades made a difference. Alright, I've been looking forward to taking this shade off and getting a proper look at this for a long time now. Alright, even from back here it's pretty apparent the difference that shade made. Overall, these ones don't look too bad though. I think on average they have a similar amount of leaves to them. Just these are a little taller, a little stretchier and greener. I think the main takeaway I've gotten from this is you just have to be really persistent. They're really slow, and you have to remember they need extra water. Even though they're Ariocarpus, they're still seedlings. I've actually had these outside for a couple weeks already so they can enjoy the heat, and it's been going pretty well. And this is kind of uncharted territory for me because this is as well as I've grown Ariocarpus so far. So I hope they continue growing well. And if they do, I'll bring you along for the ride and you can get to see what happens. There's not a lot of people to ask about growing Ariocarpus from seed, so when I learned my local Cactus and Succulent Society was having a talk on Ariocarpus, I thought I might as well go and ask. I mentioned earlier that the seeds I've been growing are collection number SB68. The SB stands for Stephen Brack, who originally started Mesa Garden and is the current president of the New Mexico Club. When I got to the meeting, Stephen Brack was the first person to greet me and introduce himself, and I got to chat with him about Ariocarpus before the presentation even started. His mentality seemed to be basically treat them like any other cacti except they're slow and need shade. He said it's not necessary to make the soil alkaline, even though they like to grow in limestone in the wild. He noted that thunderstorms create acidic water, and he matter-of-factly mentioned that you can grow nice Ariocarpus from seed in 20 years. It's something that sounds like quite an undertaking. I'm 41 years old, but Stephen Brack can casually mention it from experience. Rob Romero's presentation was great. It's on the Cactus and Succulent Society of New Mexico's YouTube channel, titled Growing Ariocarpus. He talks a little about growing from seed with example photos, and he gives a specific soil mix he likes to use for Ariocarpus. And he also showed a picture of this plant, which I just thought was really fun. If you've made it this far, I've got a little bonus content for you. Shortly after taking the seedlings out of the bags, I grafted a handful of them to Arios, and I exposed them to too much light for most of the time, but you can tell they've also grown. They look a lot different from the ungrafted seedlings and show a mix of the mature traits and the baby traits. These plants are my insurance policy since I've not had that great of luck with Ariocarpus from seed in the past. And here's an Ariocarpus lloydii. It's all that's left of a little batch of seedlings I tried to grow. I'll have to keep trying the Fisheratus types. They're my favorite, but the ones that I've had the most trouble with. I really appreciate everybody that watches these videos, so thank you for watching. I also really enjoy reading all the comments, so thank you all you commenters. And I hope all of you have great Ariocarpus adventures.